How to get direct shippers on board, carriers and owner operators. This Q&A specifically for you guys. I had a live on TikTok. There were about like 400 people. I do, by the way, every single day, 8 a.m. in the morning when I come to the office and I start doing live on TikTok. Join me there if you're a carrier, dispatcher, owner operator. We talk about load boards specifically. The TikTok is specifically dedicated for, talking about load boards update, how to use load boards. We're pulling some, like origin and destination. People ask, hey, we need to find loads, let's say from Texas to California, like how the rates are doing now, or are those rates are improving or not. And I had a question. There were a lot of owner operators in that live session on TikTok. And I asked the question and I said, listen, I do see that you guys don't like the rates right now. The rates that are being posted by brokers, we know that. And we meaning owner operators and carriers, they don't like to see those rates right now. And today I checked several times and I see drive-in loads being posted like $1.20 per mile. That's ridiculous. Like I do see box truck loads being posted for 60 cents. Hotshot market, it's horrible. I looked at numbers. It's like 70 cents a mile. Averaging, like those are the average numbers, by the way. Reefer market, it's okay. I'm not gonna say, well, it's a season, right? So there are a lot of, vegetables and fruits being moved right now. It's very crazy. It's ridiculous to see those numbers. Are like, I think to me, it's how carriers surviving moving those loads. And on that live training, and I said, well, I asked the question, owner operators and carriers, and I said, listen, you guys are complaining about the load board. Well, we hate brokers. They get the cut, we do the work, X, Y, and Z. And I asked a simple question, and I said, listen, what's stopping you to go and work directly with the shipper? Well, it used to be like that, right? The load board was just for backhaul. 90% of the time carriers were using, meaning working directly with direct shippers, right? They have like a B2B, it's a B2B business, right? So, or the model. If I'm a carrier and I'm working directly with the shipper, but I'm using load board for the backhaul. If I don't have a load from a shipper, then what I do, I get loads from the load board. That was the idea for load boards. But then somewhere down the line, carriers thought, hey, this is a really good model. We don't need to go out of office. It's talking to people, meaning direct shippers. Hey, I have trucks, we have loads, let's connect and we'll move the loads for you. And they stopped doing that for some reason. For like, it's very strange to see that. Well, yes, it's marketing. Maybe people don't know how to market, their services. Well, then these what we call middlemen, they realize, oh, there is an opportunity. Carriers like to work or sit in the office all day long. They don't want to talk to customers. They don't know how to get shippers on board. What I will do is like, hey, I will create a business and then I will connect shippers and carriers, and then I will make money. That's how I think brokers or the model came into the game, let's say. And I asked this question, like I asked several times, and I said, listen, what's stopping you? Like, if you're a carrier right now, you're an owner operator, you're a carrier, like you're sitting right in front of the load board and you see like loads are being posted like dirt cheap. And you're thinking like, who's going to pick these loads up? Like it pays less than $2. And some people say that, hey, my cost per mile CPM is, right now is little over $2. Well, yeah, it's crazy if you have cost per mile more than $2. But then I'm looking for loads more than 3.5, and you don't see those loads. Like, you don't see those rates. What you see is $1.90, $1.70, $1.20. It's like $1.15 for the drive-in. It's really demotivating to see those loads, right? Or those rates. Then if that's the problem, then what's the solution? If you guys can comment, that will be awesome. If you're a carrier, if you're an owner operator watching this right now, maybe if you're a freight agent, or maybe you're a freight dispatcher helping your carriers, like, how do you guys like the rates that you see right now? Is there any, can you guys comment? Let me know so that we can start the discussion, right? So it's not a lecture, by the way. When I start these, Q&A type of sessions, it's all about engagement, right? Let's engage. Ask me questions if you have, then I'll be asking questions. Let's do discussion type of the live session. So, and then, carrier owner operator, yeah, he was an owner operator. And he said, well, listen, I don't want to talk to people. I was like, wow, you don't want to talk to people, but then you are in the business. Don't you realize that you are in the business, that this business is capital intensive and brutally competitive business? Think about these two. Brutally competitive. It's not competitive. Any business out there, competitive. Trucking, in my opinion, it's brutally competitive business and a capital intensive business, right? And I said, don't you realize that you are in the business that you need to talk to people? Meaning money comes from other people. If you don't like to talk to people, then how you stay in the business? What's the plan? Well, to me, it's just calling these brokers and booking these loads. Why? I have low cost per mile, and I'm okay picking these loads up for $2 or something like that. I'm okay with that. Well, you're okay, but then 99% of the carriers or owner operators, they're not okay, right? But if I said, let's say that there is an opportunity to make money in the trucking right now, you don't have to be on the survival mode, but you actually can make money, but you need to go and talk to people. Well, I saw some people, they're like, man, I'm willing to. There are some people out there, hey, I'm willing to, but I don't know how to find those shippers. I don't know. Well, that's very straightforward. Well, that's easy. If you don't know, well, we can help, obviously, right? So there are some people, they know how to do it. Then why are you using brokers then, right? If you don't like to go out and talk to people, you don't want to work directly with direct shippers. And some said, listen, well, direct shippers, they don't want to work with us. And I said, why? What's the reason? What they used to work, but then something happened, they don't? Well, they are willing to work with you, but then you're maybe targeting wrong people. And they're like, oh, wow. What do you mean by saying that? Well, listen, if you have just one truck and one trailer, and if you go to a, let's say, a shipper or a manufacturer that he's giant, right? He's pretty busy. He sends loads, I don't know, or ship loads, thousands of loads per week. And you can't keep up with the demand. You're so small, and then there's no way for this shipper to work with you. Maybe this shipper looking for a broker, maybe the right ideal customer for this shipper is working with brokers. Why? Because broker has an army of carriers, thousands of carriers, right? Let's say I'm a broker and I have carriers, let's say 2,000 carriers on my database. And I go and talk to this shipper and I said, hey, listen, I can take care of the logistics aspect of your business. I can, assign these loads to my carriers. Like, how many carriers do you have? Like, I have more than 2,000 people, right? Meaning companies. Like, these are the trucking companies. Most of these trucking companies averaging like about 6 or 7 or 9 trucks, for example, right? In between, let's say 7 trucks. 2,000 carriers, meaning companies, and each company averaging about 7 trucks. Do you see the numbers, right? So now, for this shipper, it makes sense to work with the broker, not with an owner operator. An owner operator dreaming to work with direct shippers, man, I won't have any problem with the loads. Well, you will, right? You will have problems. Why? Because, like, imagine you're comparing yourself to, let's say, if you are a small, mom and pop shop selling, I don't know, something, meaning products on your brick and mortar store, for example, and you're competing with Amazon. Amazon is giant, right? So you're just competing with Amazon. Doesn't make any sense. So same thing. And an owner operator, like, as I said, dreaming to work with the shipper, but hey, there is a way. But if you're let's say if you're out of Houston, Texas, there are thousands of shippers. Right now, they're ready to work. I mean, small shippers, right? So where the small shipper, meaning these people have freight for, let's say, or loads for owner operator. Maybe they work with a couple of owner operators. So if you have a truck and trailer, let's say you are in the flatbed market, then you can easily go and talk to an owner. That's what I'm saying. So when you have like a big company, you can't even talk to the owner of the company, because it's a huge, right? There's a management, then you need to talk to a regional manager, maybe then they have a specific key person that you need to talk to, then you need to make an appointment, then you have the proposal. There is like a process. And by the way, brokers, they know this process. And brokers, not all the brokers, right? But most of the brokers, they know how to do marketing. They know how to do sales. And I think that's the missing link when it comes to like direct shippers and meaning working with direct shippers, not with the brokers. Well, again, when I say eliminating the broker, I'm not saying that you need to completely eliminate the broker. You can still use the broker, but my point is, don't build a business around this load board system, so to speak, or load board broker model, for example. I rely on load boards and brokers, and I will go and finance hundreds of thousands of dollars to go into the business. Well, imagine, like, how much is a trailer right now, right? So averaging about used trucks, trailers, maybe about 15 to 25,000, something like that you can use it. The flatbed. Well, then brand new, maybe, I don't know the market right now. Maybe it's 60, 80, I don't know, 50, 60, 70,000. Trucks are ridiculously expensive. And you go and finance your trucks, and you're building your business, like trucking business, which is brutally competitive, capital intensive business, and you build this business or trying to build business around load board. And at the same time that it sucks right now. Market is dead, right? Or slowed down, recession, all the bad things. Economy is down, whatever. And you're like, man, I want to go and buy a truck and trailer. It like doesn't make any sense, right? So then again, okay, so we now know how to like finding loads. That's the number one issue for us to stay in the business. Well, one way is to, as I said, I think the wrong way of doing the business is just entirely rely on load boards and brokers, or you just go out and start talking to people, meaning direct shippers in your area. I'll give you an example. When I was in the flatbed, I owned 4 flatbed trucks, and I had my company drivers, and when I load them up, right, they're loaded, and they're in transit, they're driving, and I will just go out and then, okay, well, this guy, they are building trailers. So these guys, selling plywood. So it's a small distribution center or it's a small warehouse. And I'll go and talk to these people. I said, okay, guys, you guys are selling plywood. You're selling to who? Like the region of the country. Well, we are, Atlanta-based company. We're selling to Texas. A lot of our customers in Florida, in Jacksonville, Florida. And then I'll okay. So I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, right? I'm about like 20 miles away from you, and I have 4 trucks. So that's how the conversation starts. But by the way, I'm talking to owner of the company because it's a small company, right? It's a small warehouse, but then they have, I'm not going to say that they have enough load to keep me busy all the time, but hey, they pay good, right? And then I can move these loads and I can, make money. At least I do have something. So I started working with them and I realized that, yes, they demand a lot. I realized that. But then, hey, you work with brokers, you have advantages and disadvantages. And if you work with direct shippers, you have advantages and disadvantages. Wherever you go, right? Wherever you go or whenever you go, you have advantages and disadvantages. Just know that. So if you work with the broker, well, there are some advantages, but at the same time, there are some disadvantages. And same thing with the dispatch. I mean, with the direct shippers. Don't assume that everything will be smooth. You will be getting loads right and left. Well, first of all, the process is not easy to get them on board and working with them. It's like convincing shipper. It's one of the hardest thing. I think that's one of the reasons why carriers don't want to go and talk to these people, because a lot of those people rejecting carriers right and left. That's totally understandable. But again, business is not easy, specifically coming back to brutally competitive, capital intensive business. Man, you are in the trucking. What are you expecting? Right? So you need to talk to people. Some people reject, some people, willing to work with you. And then when I started working with these people and I started making some money, and I realized, oh, wow, that's awesome. When I got that, obviously I motivated, inspired by the process working directly with shippers. And I was like talking to my friends and like, man, I'm using load board maybe about 20% of the time, but 80% the loads that I have coming from direct shippers. When I motivated and at the same time inspired, I was looking for like more direct shippers. And I started like calling people, not going out, but making some appointments. And then I had also on my Facebook, I do have those pictures. And I can't remember the company name, but then they were building trailers, right? So, and I started moving trailer parts from Houston, back from Houston, they were buying some steel plate. Now, imagine like I have loads going out of Atlanta, Georgia, goes to Houston, right? For example, when I deliver the loads, but then they have loads all the time. Whenever I'm in Houston, their dispatchers calling me, hey, Kamal, we have loads. Will you pick up? What are those? Steel plates. Why? Because they want the raw materials. So that was, well, they kept me busy, by the way, right? And at the same time, I was using, the brokers. But again, I'm not saying, coming back to this, like eliminating the broker, but I'm not saying completely eliminating brokers, because when I was a carrier, I still I was working with brokers that I had. And by the way, when you work with brokers, when you build relationship with brokers, and they will give you best paying loads, right? They know that you can deliver, that there is a relationship that you have built over time. And I had about like 4 or 5 brokers that I was working with. And at the same time in Georgia, I had a couple of brokers I know by name. I visited, a couple of times, and we had a party with them, and we go fishing with them. I built a relationship with them, and then one of the ladies that I knew, she was a broker, steel plates. I mean the coils. It's like people, meaning friends that they're in dispatching their carriers, right? They're dispatching their trucks in the flatbed market, and I do see that these steel plates were posting, let's say, $2,000, for example, right? But I was getting these steel plates from a broker, 25, $2,800 per load. So, see, even then, you're not completely eliminating broker. If you build a relationship with broker, you still can make money. So the process is, obviously, there's a two ways, coming back to like how you can get direct shippers on board: carriers and owner operators. So the number one reason we talked about this is that maybe we don't know how to market our services, meaning carrier side of the business, right? We have trucks, but we don't know how to market ourselves. And at the same time, when we market and people say, hey, yeah, we want to work with you, but then what would be the closing aspect? So if we don't know sales, this is where we, I think, struggle. So now we know that there's a marketing and there's a sales. Marketing, when you just, marketing maybe online saying, hey, I'm a, I'm an owner operator, maybe I'm a carrier, I'm located in X, Y, and Z state or city, and I'm in the flatbed market specifically, right? You state, maybe you're running some Facebook ads and people start, connecting with you. They're interested in working with you. Maybe they set up some appointments to talk to you over the phone, maybe over the Zoom or something like that. This is what I teach basically, right? So then when you have these meetings set up, then how you close the deal with the shipper, right? So that means we need to learn, obviously, marketing and then the sales. That one way is to you just knocking the doors, right? And then rejection, maybe when you knock doors, 80% of the time people reject you. They don't want to work with you. But then why, like, think about this way. What can I do so that shippers, set up appointments with me instead of me telling them, hey, I have trucks and trailers, I'm in the flatbed business, I want to work with you. So then what would be I want to switch the game. Now you're knocking my door and asking my help instead of me knocking your door and asking for a business. Does that make sense? Like, think about, well, actually, it's possible, right? Shippers will knock your doors. Why? Well, they're in business. You are in the trucking business. You have, let's say, your trucks and trailers. You have payments. You have insurance. Same thing. They are in business. They are shippers. They have, maybe, I don't know, office building, expense. Think about lease. Think about insurance, employees, raw materials. They have expenses too, right? So they must run a business. If they build something, then obviously they're selling. Well, one of my direct shippers, they were making trailers. Well, they were buying steel plates, right? So they're making steel plates and they were selling these trailers nationwide. The majority of their buyers, they were located in Oklahoma and Houston, right? So now they sold, let's say, 200 units, maybe 400 units, and they're sitting in parking lot. They need to ship those trailers, right? And then obviously they're looking for who? They are in pain because they have expenses too. Maybe hundreds of thousands of expenses per month. Maybe you have about $5,000 or $10,000 expense. If you're an owner operator, let's give it or take, maybe it's $5,000 you have per month, but they have hundreds of thousands of expense. They're running business, right? So they're in pain. That's the reason why I say this. They're in pain. They want to work with you. And the only thing is left is saying, hey, I'm here. I have the truck and I have the trailer that you're looking for. And then second is the sales. What am I trying to say? The thing is, if you don't want to go out of the office and start talking to people, you need to build a sales funnel, sales process. So the customer's journey, right? Shippers are out there and you are, as a trucking company, what you need to do in order to pull those people or attract those people and say, hey, I have something for you, right? And then when they click, let me take back and let me give you an example, like more specific example. These shippers, they really love to take some type of assessments online. That's based on my research, that's what I realized. Assessments of how you can optimize, let's say, your property management or something like that, or how to manage X, Y, and Z, or how to do this X, Y, and Z if you are X, Y, and Z. For example, if I'm targeting a plywood, right? This is how to work with importers and exporters, for example, or how to work with international importers and exporters. See, now, and there is an assessment, and people start taking these assessments, meaning specifically, I'm talking about shippers. And once they start taking these assessments, we send them to somewhere. That means the landing page, right? So that's the customer journey. We give something, and then they give their information, for example, name, maybe phone number, maybe email address, or email address is must. Why? We need to follow up with them. So once we get the email address and we start following with the shipper, right? So we give them the assessment results. We give them assessments. They took the assessment, and then now we have the result. We send them the results, but at the same time, we're sending our company information. Hey, this is a tracking company. My company name is Prime Express out of Atlanta, Georgia. This is what we do. And by the way, right? So that's by the way. And you start pitching. So then when you set up a phone call, for example, then what you do, you start closing the deals. This is where I lose a lot of owner operators and carriers. Man, I don't know how to talk to shippers. Man, I don't know how to close deals. Well, question is like, why? Why you think that you don't know how to close a deal? Why you say I don't know how to talk to these shippers? Man, it's very straightforward. Transparency, what these businesses love. Like you're very transparent. Like I'm talking to them and I said, hey, well, thank you for taking this assessment. Well, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, right? So this is what I have, and I'm willing to work with you. So this is my company information, and that's how it goes, right? You start asking questions, and they're asking questions. Mostly, you asking questions about their businesses. The reason why you do is just basically understand their pain points so that you can serve them better, and that's it. And then obviously what they will do is send you the contract. You go over the contract, and they have the rules. And well, actually, they set the rules, right? This is what we do. This is how we do it, and this is the process. This is how we move stuff, right? So these are the requirements, and that's it. So once you start learning this process, the sales funnels or sales process, and marketers call this the sales journey, for example, or you can say customer journey, right? So you don't have to go out and then start knocking doors or door-to-door selling. To me, it doesn't work anymore. Why? Everything is digital. And I think this way, hey, listen, if there is a shipper out there, well, if he owns a business, he or she, doesn't matter. If they own the business, I know, in fact, that these people are online. These people watching YouTube videos. These people are on TikTok. Yeah. And a couple of my shippers, actually, I got from TikTok, right? So they're on TikTok. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook, mostly on LinkedIn. There's a trick, right? Mostly on the LinkedIn. So be active on LinkedIn. Start learning. Think about, Twitter. They use Twitter. They use LinkedIn. Most of the people that I know, importers, exporters, and shippers, they have they're they're the shippers, right? They have the loads. They're on LinkedIn. Now, I think we need to learn how to pull those loads those shippers from the LinkedIn, how to talk to them, how to send, let's say, direct messages on LinkedIn and start connecting with these people. If we don't want to learn this process, brokers, they learned this process and they do this day in, day out, and this is how they get customers. And to me, when I was a carrier, it didn't make any sense. Like, man, I have the truck and trailer, I do the work, and broker, he has obviously business model, but then he doesn't own any equipment. Well, he has expense. Well, I get that, but then I'm doing the work. The hard work is on my shoulders. Well, this broker sits in his office. Maybe he's in home office or somewhere on the internet. He's talking to these shippers, and he get the contracts without owning the equipment. Well, now I own the equipment. Well, actually, shipper wants to work with me directly, and I'm building my business around this load board. And I hate seeing these loads, and I hate brokers that they post these low paying loads. So if that's the problem, then why don't I go out and start learning about this LinkedIn marketing, like the sales? The sales is about, it's not about coming back to this, like, why don't you want to do sales? Like, oh, I don't know how to do it. Man, it's not a rocket science. It's not sales. It's not about convincing somebody and selling or pushing. It's just basically it's a conversation. Most of the deals that I close, it's just a conversation back and forth. Like, we're just talking. I'm a business owner. He's a business owner. We're just asking questions back and forth. How long have you been in the business? Like, hey, do you have major accidents or something like that? What about your insurance? We're just talking. And then most of the time, obviously, I'm asking questions and I listen. Why? Because then they feel like, well, this guy understands my business. This guy knows my pain points. Now, I think I'll give it a try and see, how that goes. And by the way, guys, this is the only way to connect with shippers, right? So I think right now in digital era, this is the only way to connect people. People are on the internet. Like, think about, I don't know where you're from. You're just watching right now. I'm talking to you right now. I don't know where you are, but then maybe you're a business owner, maybe you're not, maybe you're a kid, maybe not. But then listen, I found you online. You're listening to me, right? Maybe you're interested in dispatching. Maybe you're interested in becoming a carrier. Maybe you're interested in, if you're a carrier, maybe you're a broker trying to learn, like, maybe understand the process. See, I'm just like, I'm sitting in my office and I'm talking to you. You're like, I don't know what part of the world you are right now, but then we're talking. Same thing. These shippers are online too. And how to find them is by marketing and doing the sales. I think for us, for carriers, for next maybe year or so, it's like learning this marketing game, learning the sales, and not giving the business to brokers. Why should I? You don't do marketing, you don't do sales. They do marketing, they do sales, and they get the cut. Hope that helps. Thank you.